Majority of therapy, perhaps, is about making peace with mistakes. And a lot of people can't make peace with their mistakes. And it makes sense because there are thoughts that believe that if you make peace with your mistakes, or loss, or things not going the way you want, or people not behaving the way you want, or your personality not being the way you want, if you make peace with those shortcomings and mistakes, or perceived mistakes, then you won't have motivation to make improvements. Like, it's just wired into, at a very young age, that you judge yourself for mistakes that you've made, and that's what gives you control of the situation, even though it's painful. And therapy ideally will help you make peace with the loss, mistakes, and shortcomings. One technique is to consider that it's all inevitable. And if you look at your grandparents' relationship with your parents, and a single choice that they made, or a single thing that they said, if you're lucky enough to have knowledge about it, you may be able to see how it was all set in motion decades ago. So one particular example can be if a mother, let's say your grandmother, wasn't there for your father, or wasn't there for your mother in a way that would have allowed them to have been healthier and have proper boundaries, or some other thing that comes out of being having a secure attachment. So they did some action, said something, and then the parent, your parent, has a behavioral response, which then sets in motion years before you're even born, possibly your whole life, possibly the first half of your life. Most likely your relationships and how you react to other people. And so by seeing that it was inevitable, forgiving yourself is a lot easier. Now, not all of your mind is going to be on board with that narrative, even if it's completely reasonable and logical that you couldn't have avoided the situation, and you couldn't have avoided the defects of your character. So then the other part that's still remaining, it's kind of the residual air in your lungs, which is always there, is to forgive the part of you and accept the part of you and have beginner's mind toward the part of you that says, that you should judge yourself for mistakes. And what I'm hoping to do, if I remember, is to do the judgment card on this one, or do the judgment card with 3 other cards with this one, because the central idea here is using inevitability, the narrative of inevitability, for 80% of the forgiveness, or shortcomings, mistakes, defects of character, and then 20% about beginner's mind and acceptance. Like, okay, maybe I should continue to judge myself. It's not for us to say, this is very common in retreats, spiritual retreats, to say, what do I want to let go of? And you mention your defects of character, or you're blaming yourself for mistakes, and that's why you go to therapy, to release those things. But what I'm saying is, if you want to go on the skinny branches, it's not your business what you let go of. This is open-ended meditation inspiration. In other words, not even an anchor of the breath, not even a mantra or a saying, not even a visualization. It's literally saying whatever arises, even if it's judging myself for mistakes and shortcomings and defects of character, even if it's that, okay, I greet that too. The obstacle is the way, as Aurelius said. Be like the ocean that accepts all rivers, as the African proverb says. The person who goes to therapy because of some kind of persistent, unpleasant thought or emotional pattern or repetition compulsion, and pursuit of pleasure, back and forth. The negative adaptive child versus negative free child, Enneagram, whatever the framework you want to use to describe it. that person may be healthier than someone who doesn't go to therapy and says everything's fine. Because the obstacle is the way. By being receptive to these disowned parts, these parts that are oppositional to unconditional self-acceptance, USA, unconditional self-acceptance, the parts that are against USA, those are the parts that need love. And if you're not aware of them, or you're constantly trying to distract yourself from whatever is leading away from USA, then healing is less likely to happen, right? But if you're willing to see, this is what is opposed to USA, unconditional self-acceptance, and I'm going to give it unconditional self-acceptance. For the first card, some systems is strength, other systems is the other one. And then, so we're associating that arbitrarily, but we're setting it up to associate that with the call. And then for the trial, we're looking at the hermit. Now, often, we're looking at the trial we're associating the trial with the hermit. Now, ordinarily, if you got that card randomly, you would say, well, it has something to do with possibly a withdrawal or not promoting your self-image or something like that. But for us, we're just using it in a different way. And really, the hermit is all about seeking truth and also not associating your self-image with what's happening in this particular place in the trial. Then, for the return, we can think about this idea of passing a message over the gap, through the bardo, to the next cycle. And that message could be why to withhold love, like you're aligning with the negative controlling parent, negative nurturing parent, and identifying with that and saying why love should be withheld, what condition wasn't met. Or it could be a bid from the negative free child or negative adaptive child to get love. And it can be a situation where you think you're the negative adaptive child, negative free child, so you're saying, oh, I would feel more love if X, Y, and Z, or the other side, that is negative free child or negative adaptive child, is responsible for not feeling loving. So it's like a punitive framework. But in all cases, we're just trying to give love to that voice, to the negative adaptive child, to the negative free child, to the negative controlling parent, and to the negative nurturing parent, whichever one's coming up, and saying, you're looking for love or you're looking to withhold love, well, I'm going to give you unconditional love, because clearly, if you're looking to get love through conditions or you're looking to withhold love because of conditions, you don't understand unconditional love. So that's what you're asking for. Technically, that's what you need. Whenever conditional love is being applied as a reason to withhold or to get love, or a way to get love, it means unconditional love is not flowing. And therefore, your responsibility as pure awareness, higher self, is to provide it.
Hexagram 17 suggests that at the call, if you are like a hunter, and we reference that to the card of strength that shows the maiden opening the lion's mouth, then you allow confusion. Often when we are seeking justice and eager to avoid confusion and have justice prevail, we are more yang than yin, and so we don't want to allow confusion. So in this case, at the call, we allow confusion. And why would we do that? Because then we are more likely to find forgiveness and beginner's mind, FBM. And if you miss that at the call, if you are striving to deliver justice, if you are trying to force open the lion's mouth, or feel that you're being chewed by the lion, then you're trying to avoid confusion, so then you enter the trial with aggression, agenda, attachment. And negative adaptive child versus negative free child. Enneagram fixation, Cartman's drama triangle, KDT, that's typically what you're having. But at the trial, with putting the Hermit card there and seeing Hexagram 40, we look at the idea that maybe there's a release that can happen, and you're untangled and delivered as per Hexagram 40. And then, if that happens, then you see that you're not the self-image, right? The Hermit withdraws from society to no longer play the game of impressing other people or trying to have power or control over other people. So that's what's the potential with seeing hexagram 40 in the trial with the hermit. But let's just say you're not released. So you try to avoid confusion. You got attached and identified with an agenda from the negative adaptive child, the negative free child, negative nurturing parent, or negative controlling parent. And then you enter the return. This is just before the Bardo. So we have the Wheel of Fortune card. Again, this wasn't randomly chosen. We selected it in order. And the Wheel of Fortune card, interestingly enough, can reference us to call, trial, return, and Bardo. Right? So we see ourselves as kind of the center of the wheel, and the wheel is turning. And that fits very well with hexagram 52, which is about stillness. So if you're still and you see that you've been tangled up with the image, and you are under this impression that it's your business what is arising, you take ownership and authorship of thoughts that are arising, and you believe you know what should be released, and there's these strategies being proposed by the negative adaptive child, negative free child, or the judgments being proposed by the negative controlling parent or negative nurturing parent, and you're identifying as the author of that. These are all just strategies to get love and safety. So they're coming up, but in order for them to have power, they seek to be identified with. They seek to create the impression that you're the author of them, so that you are the negative adaptive child, or that you are the negative free child, or that you are the persecutor, rescuer, victim, or you are the Enneagram fixation. And because all of these are thoughts about conditional love, and so if you think that you are the author of those thoughts, then you believe that you are the one that wants conditional love, but you are just awareness, you're just the observer. So if you're released and delivered in the hermit stage, then you're not going to fall for that, because the light of truth is shining. But typically we don't. We're in the trial and we're chasing after conditional love, or we're coming up with reasons to withhold conditional love. But the third number, 52, the idea of being still and just letting the moment be what it is as it fades. The call, trial, return, Bardo cycle turns. This now dissolves and a new now arrives. Or maybe it's about to arrive. And so hexagram 52 is just suggesting, I would say, to keep still as the wheel turns. Be that center. And we watch the wolves fall and rise. We watch the snakes fall and rise. We come to the hooks. We come to the hand. Come to the fire. And then whether or not you found untangling and deliverance, whether you got captivated by the fear of the static feminine, so you're in the dynamic masculine, or you got attached by the loneliness of the dynamic masculine and now you're in the static masculine, even whether or not you can keep still to observe that and let that go so there's not judging and grasping and regret. We have hexagram 10, right? Hexagram 10 appearing again with those same two cards. As I said earlier, the justice and the strength card are inverted in different systems. So, but let's say whether it's justice, sitting on the throne, trying to pass a judgment. This is very common in the return. The negative adaptive child, negative free child are judging each other, and the negative controlling parent, negative nurturing parent are taking a side of one or the other. So, but in this case, what we're doing is we're just treading. We're walking into the Bardo. So the boundaries and the directions dissolve, because that's what the Bardo is about. The Bardo is about dropping the boundaries and dropping the need for direction. And then when the cycle returns again, it's probably not going to be 17. But if it is, if we're committed to allowing confusion, if confusion's okay, then forgiveness and beginner's mind about any thoughts that fear confusion and judge our defects and our mistakes and our self-image. We're hunter. We're following that. And then if at 40 we're the hermit, we are released, we're taken apart, we're delivered, we're untangled, and we don't see ourselves as the image. We just see the image of something appearing in our minds, and it's not our business what thoughts are arising, what we can release, and we have unconditional self-acceptance. And then there won't be the judging and grasping and regret. We're at the center of the wheel, and we enter the Bardo and we drop our boundaries and drop our need for direction. That's the treading, right? That's the conduct that is ideal for us to do. And we can't always achieve it, so each time we go around the circle, we simply try again.